Eternals is the 26th MCU movie. It is releasing in theaters on November 5th, 2021. So, I thought, of course, with every new MCU entry, let's make a ranking video of all the MCU movies ranked. I'll be doing the same for Spider-Man No Way Home. So, let's start with this list. At number 26, we have Thor The Dark World. See, I don't need to give any clarifications, but I absolutely hated this film. The villain of this film was the worst MCU villain to date, and the action sequences were not interesting. There was no rhythm in the movie, very bad plot execution, very bad dialogues. Everything in this movie was bad. Not even the emotions were really touching. So, this was not a great film, not a good one either. Number 25 is The Incredible Hulk. This feels the most distinct Marvel movie, not in the sense that it's different than other Marvel movies. It does follow a bit of the Marvel formula, but there are no connections to this. It has rarely been mentioned in other MCU movies. So that's it. Number 24 is Iron Man 2, another movie that I absolutely did not like. It's the worst in the Iron Man trilogy. It's such a disappointing film considering that the first Iron Man was a great film. But this one, not even close. Then at number 23 we have Thor. See, a lot of you just love this film. You say that when it was released it was a global sensation. I don't think the same at all. I think this is one of the worst MCU movies, as you can see it in the last few. And I absolutely did not like the dialogues. The action was not interesting, and it was mostly on Midgard rather than Asgard. That's what we wanted to say, but it didn't work. And number 22 is Black Widow. Surprising, because I think a lot of you do like this film, but I don't. I would have given this a very bad review. In fact, I gave it a good review, but the more I watch this film, it has very less rewatchability factor. The more I noticed how bad this movie is. From the plot to the plot execution to the Taskmaster reveal, everything was so disappointing, and the action and the visual effects were not great either. Especially the action, it should have been really great, but it is just not that great. Then at number 21 we have Iron Man 3, the most disappointing plot twist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's history. Of course, the Mandarin plot twist was so disappointing. That's the big factor responsible for this movie being so behind. Otherwise, action was great, visual effects were great, but the Mandarin twist was so disappointing to me because I was really looking forward to it, and then the stupid twist happened and all my excitement was down to hell. So that's why it's at number 21. Poorly at number 20 is another movie, Captain Marvel, which I would have given a negative review because I think any character development in this film was so bad. I mean, all the characters were useless, I thought. None of the character development were good. I mean, you can say Captain Marvel's character development was good, but it was mediocre. The twist in this film about the Krees and the Skrulls was the best part of the film, I would argue, and third act I thought was messy. I just didn't like it. There's a lot of reasons, but it's hard to clarify in this much time. So number 19, Ant-Man and the Wasp, another movie I would have given a negative review in the MCU. I thought Ghost was also one of the worst MCU villains. MCU does not have a really great number of good villains considering they have 26 movies, and the Ghost is also one of the worst ones of them. The plot, exciting, but it's so small scale, it doesn't feel like that gigantic MCU movie you've been waiting for. No, it doesn't feel like that at all. The action, mediocre, quite some unique ideas, but okay. Now another 18, a Spider-Man Homecoming. I would say this was the worst Spider-Man movie. I did not really like it. It's not the worst Spider-Man movie, of course. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 are worse, but I didn't like this so much. I mean, the third act for this film was a big disappointment to me, very big disappointment. The weakest part of the film was the third act. There are a few sequences that I really enjoyed, but overall I was kind of bored watching Spider-Man Homecoming. I know you have other feelings, but that was my opinion. Then at number 17, Captain America the First Avenger. This film is good, I would say. It's mostly good. But what's the problem I had with this film is that for me it was a bore fest, like a real bore fest. I really did not love rewatching this film at all. I have rewatched it a couple of times to think if my opinion changes, but I got bored all the time. The story was great, the emotions were great. I mean, I don't have huge complaints in this except that it has very less rewatchability factor. Number 16 is Ant-Man. From here onwards, I will say all the MCU movies are good. Ant-Man, this is a good and unique idea that I really like because, well, DC has similar heroes, but Marvel is always first doing this stuff. So, Ant-Man, a good idea for making a movie like this, and was so unique, and the action was great. The ideas they used in the action sequences are great. So, and the story was also kind of good. So I thought, yeah, it had a chance in cracking my good lists in the MCU. But at number 15 is Eternals. Well, in my review, I gave Eternals a very positive review, but that was my first watch. I was also invited to another screening of Eternals, so I went over there, and that was my rewatching Eternals for the first time. That's my second watch. I thought that this movie does have some issues, but I think I will still give it a good review. It's still a great, most beautiful MCU film. It is pretty light on action sequences, but it's epic at times, but it has some issues of its own. So at number 14, Avengers Age of Ultron. Well, this is, I mean, the worst Avengers movie, but I don't think it was too bad. I mean, I did not like Ultron for the first part. That was my biggest complaint of the movie. There are some storytelling aspects of the film that I did not really enjoy, but overall it was pretty great on action sequences, and it was a really entertaining film. I rewatched it a couple of times, and I find it really great, even on the rewatch scale. I think it's pretty entertaining, and it needs to be. Number 13 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It has amazing visual effects. I think after Eternals, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is the most beautiful MCU movie to date. And it's pretty close to Eternals. It's so colorful and the action is great, but I don't think the humor even reaches close to the first film. Even the storytelling and the plot aspects of the film are not as good as the first film. A bit of a disappointment, but I still consider it as a great film. Really enjoyable. Even no matter how many rewatches you do, it's still great. Then at number 12, we have Doctor Strange. This is kind of a unique movie. It does not have a lot of action. There is one action sequence that I really enjoyed in this film, but besides the third act action sequence was horrible. But it has kind of a unique idea. I did not like the third act, to be honest, with the Dormammu and the bargain sequence, but it went for a unique appeal which I liked. The visual effects were dazzling. I can't say it was the most beautiful MCU film, but the visual effects were surely top notch. Then at number 11, we have Iron Man. I think Iron Man, which is the first MCU movie, obviously, it has great storytelling aspects. The way it represents Iron Man's whole origin story is perfectly done and perfectly satisfying. That's why I really like this film, best in the Iron Man trilogy by far. But at number 10 we have the Avengers, the first of its kind. It's a huge cinematic event back in 2012. We have seen better events now, but sure, this one felt great because it was for the first time we were going to see heroes uniting from different movies into one big one, which was this. So it was a great idea to create the cinematic universe, and I will, just for that one thing, I will keep this movie in my top 10. It was a great film. At number 9, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'm not saying it's completely a perfect film. No, it isn't. There are so many silly things that Marvel always does, which it does in this film. like putting a comedy character for compulsory in besides the lead character. Then there are some. The final action sequence of the film was so disappointing. I mean, throughout it, there were great action sequences. Bus fight was my favorite, but the more it progresses forwards, the more less unique its action sequences become. So that was my biggest complaint with it. Number 8, Spider-Man: Far From Home. It was one hell of a ride at the movie because the whole plot twist that occurs in this film is great. It's just great. It's my favorite plot twist in the entire MCU. I mean, not considering the snap as a plot twist, okay? So I like the whole multiverse. There's no multiverse. It's Mysterio plot twist. It was revealed. It was really well done, well executed, and the action was great. The visual effects were great. This storytelling, the plot aspects were great. That's why it made into my top 8. But number 7 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I would argue this has the best story out of all the MCU movies. It kept me on the edge of my seat till the very end. It has so much mystery in it. The whole Shield Hydra thing I really enjoyed. The action, top notch, great. Of course, the elevator fight is one of its standouts, but overall, even the and all the characters were so well represented. So I thought it was a pretty fantastic film. And this whole Captain America versus Winter Soldier, I was really waiting to watch that, and I got that pretty good. But number 6 is Thor Ragnarok, the best in the Thor trilogy. It's such a hell of a ride. I mean, it's so entertaining from the very start to the very end, with this whole world they build of Sakaar and everything. All the characters are so good. It's filled with humor. Taika Waititi is really great when it comes to the direction of this film. He really stands out the most in bringing the Thor trilogy back on track. That's why he got hired for Thor: Love and Thunder. And I hope the same from Thor: Love and Thunder. He's saying it's more crazier than this. Let's see. Number 5, Black Panther. I really like that it does not have a stupid comedy character besides the lead character in this film. That's what stands out to me. I mean, it does take a few other steps, not following the Marvel formula, and it's so good on the storytelling aspects, the representation aspects, and it got nominated for Best Picture, which I think it still does not deserve, but it was one of the MCU's most solid films to date, and I really enjoyed it. 3D effects were also great. Then at number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, James Gunn, he really does a great job bringing this team of douchebags on the big screen. I mean, who would have expected them to be so great? James Gunn it's the whole credit goes to James Gunn and no one else, I would say. These characters are so enjoyable, and the whole movie is filled with so much humor that I don't see any reason why anyone would not enjoy this film. It's also great on the visual effects aspect. Then at number 3, Captain America: Civil War. Seeing your favorite superheroes fight each other is a dream come true for comic book fans, and that's exactly what this movie delivers us a lot. The airport battle stands out to me, the most amazing display of cinematography over there, and the whole, of course, that final fight between Iron Man and Captain America was also great. But airport battle is just everything a superhero fan wishes from a movie called Captain America: Civil War, and it delivers it in the best way possible. Number 2, Avengers: Infinity War, pretty close between number 2 and number 1. That's Avengers Endgame, of course. Well, that's because Avengers: Infinity War, I would argue, is a better film than Avengers Endgame. But the amount of fan service that Avengers Endgame delivers is just amazing. That's what being a fan, I can put Avengers Endgame at number 2. I thought it was an incredible film. The Avengers Infinity War is sure a better film. It has way better plot execution, way better storytelling aspects, and some great visual effects. Of course, Endgame also has great visual effects, but I loved the whole world of Titan, the fight of Titans, great over there. But Avengers Endgame nails the fan service aspect. It's the best fan service ever, I would say. That final battle in Avengers Endgame and revisiting all the MCU movies in the time travel sequence, You are genius, Kevin Feige, to even come up with that. And of course, the Russo brothers made it possible, so credit goes to them too. So Avengers Endgame is definitely my number one. So that was my ranking for all the MCU movies. Share your own in the comment section down below. Like, share, and subscribe Film Villa. And follow me on Instagram at Film Villa Movie Updates.